This is breaking news affecting Facebook. There was a massive data breach at Facebook that affected 50 million users, and the situation is under control by Facebook. They have resolved the issue. This is the statement in their security updates. The data breach happened September 25th at 9:41 a.m. And I must commend Facebook for sending out an additional update giving detailed information, which will be covered in this video on what happened. And they sent this updated security update out 9:28 when the data breach happened at 4:45 p.m. later that same day, and the FTC Consumer Information Division sent out the notification October 3rd with information they received from Facebook. So I must commend once again Facebook for their timeliness in the notification of their users in regards to this issue. This is a screenshot of Facebook's question page on how to change your password and everything. The URL is there at the top. I'm sure you will need this page. This is the information from the Federal Trade Commission in regards to this data breach, and it gives some suggestions on what to do if you were a victim. There were 50 million users affected. Excuse me, and it happened September the 25th, 2018. So one of the things they suggest that you do is watch out for imposter scams, people calling relatives, friends, people you know, impersonating you and trying to get monies or other benefits from them fraudulently. And also they suggest changing your Facebook password. This is something all identity theft situations recommend. In any data breach or security breach where your information is compromised, that system, you would definitely change the password on that system. Now, they also recommend you go to identitytheft.gov data breach and fill out the information there, or just look at the things it requires to kind of help you know what things may be affected by this data breach. And there's also a video that talks about what to do if you're the victim of a data breach. Also, Facebook states from the Federal Trade Commission that they have fixed the vulnerability that caused the data breach. Facebook was very clear in providing the Federal Trade Commission on what the vulnerability was that caused the data breach. So you find it was very interesting. It was a feature that's part of Facebook, and as it states here, it says the attackers took advantage of a weakness in the View As feature, which let people see what their profile looks like to others. The hackers stole digital keys that keep you logged into Facebook, so you don't need to re-enter your password every time. Facebook states that they've fixed the vulnerability and reset digital keys of 50 million affected accounts, plus an additional 40 million accounts that use the View As function. So you see that not all of the accounts that use the View As were affected by this data breach. So this is something that if you're concerned, I would definitely go back to that little original page I showed you where you can get help or ask questions to find out if you were a victim or were you affected. I'm sure they'll be notifying the victims of this because you would need that information. Now, the remaining slides in this presentation are found on the Facebook website, and you can see the URL at the bottom of the screen. This is the security update that was sent out in regards to the actual data breach. This is a more detailed statement from Facebook as to what happened. It talks about the exploit on the View As, but it adds a little more information. And it says here, as you see on the screen, it says this allowed them to steal Facebook access tokens, which they could then use to take over people's account. The access tokens are equivalent to like a digital keys, which actually keeps you from having to retype your password. So this is what they did. They stole the tokens, and thus they accessed other people's accounts. This is what created the data breach. This is also additional information on what took place, on what their resolution was to the breach. It says the first thing they did was to fix that view as vulnerability. And second, this particular portion gives you a little more information. It says that basically, as we talked about earlier, 90 million people were affected, and that Facebook has corrected the problem, so thus 90 million people who use Facebook will have to log back in. So that view as feature, which keeps that token there to keep you from having to re-log in, it has been disabled. So people will get a notification at the top of their news feed explaining what happened. So when you log in, it'll tell you what's going on. Now they continued on, and it says thirdly, they're temporarily turning off this view as feature. And it goes on to say here that the attack exploited the complex interaction of multiple issues in their code, and it stemmed from a change it talked about that was made in 2017 in July in regards to video uploads. So the attackers not only need to find this vulnerability and use it to get access tokens, they then had to pivot from the account to others to steal more tokens. So they were like hopping from one user to the next. Once they got in the system and figured out how to get the tokens, they just kept going to the next person. Now I found this information here from Facebook very encouraging, and they're being honest, and I got to give them props for that. It says, since we've only just started our investigation, we have yet to determine whether these accounts were misused or other information accessed. We also don't know who's behind these attacks and where they're based. We're working harder to better understand these details, and they say here that they will get you the update as these issues are resolved. And if they find more accounts that have been affected, they will immediately reset their access tokens. But as I said earlier, I would recommend changing your password and disabling that feature that allows you to stay logged in. I found this slide very useful, because they actually tell you once more about their concern for your privacy and the things you need to be concerned about. And it says there's no need for anyone to change their password, but people who are having trouble, logging into Facebook, they should, or they have forgotten their password if you have not been required to log in. They suggest visit the security and login section in settings, and it lists the places people are logged into Facebook with one-click options to log out of them all. And I would strongly recommend you do that. I definitely would, because you just never know. The breach can turn out to be much more extensive than what is found in their early investigation. So I would strongly recommend just going into the settings and logging out of Facebook completely wherever you're logged in. Now, this is the update I spoke about that they sent out later that day on the 28th of September at 4:45 p.m. And like I said, I have to give them, props and give them credit, because sometimes data breaches happen, as we have seen recently, and Facebook has been kind of under scrutiny for different practices. So I must commend them in this situation for being very transparent. Now this goes into the earlier discoveries. This kind of covers some of the things that they are now doing. They kind of restate what happened before, as they've discovered more information on the 28th. And it gives a little information about the external hackers and the view as feature, and the vulnerability has resulted in the interaction of 3 distinct bugs. So they're kind of beginning to narrow it down even more, so they're getting more information on what's happening. So this is the information they sent out that afternoon. They're continuing to reveal more of the information they have discovered in regards to the data breach, and this one says Their first view says view as is a privacy feature that lets people see what their own profile looks like to someone else. Now, we covered that before, but it also does something else. View as should be a view only interface. See, that's the little caveat in this. So, however, for one type of composer, the box that lets you post content to Facebook, specifically this version that enables people to wish their friends happy birthday, view as incorrectly provided the opportunity to post a video. So this is a flaw in their system that they have found. This is part of the vulnerability. Now, as we discussed, they found a vulnerability in regards to videos being allowed to be uploaded in the wrong place. And the second thing they discovered is a new version of our video uploader. The interface that would be presented as a result of the first bug introduced in July 2017 incorrectly generated an access token that had the permissions of Facebook mobile apps. So this is what gave them access through the view as, because it was incorrectly, as they state, allowing you to upload a video in the wrong place. And that's basically what happened. And that bug allowed a token to be created that would allow login. It wasn't just a token to allow you to view, but it created a login token. It did an authentication that allowed a person with that token to be able to access your account. Okay, continuing on with the information they have provided in regards to the video upload and what they're doing in regards to it. It says, third, when the video uploader appeared as part of view as, it generated the access token, not for you as a viewer, but for the user that you were looking up. This is the hole they found. It was the combination of these three bugs that became a vulnerability. When using the view as feature to view your profile as a friend, the code did not remove the composer that let people wish you happy birthday. The video uploader would generate an access token when it shouldn't have. And when the access token was generated, it was not for you, but for the person being looked up. The access token was then available in the HTML of the page, which the attackers were able to extract and exploit to log in as another user. So this is the information. As you can see, I have to give, as I said, I have to give Facebook credit, for being so transparent about what they have found and disseminating this information to the community at large. And as I said, here's the web link. You can go to their website to find this detailed article. I just put the whole little section of the article in this video so you can read it and really get to know what happened, because the third solution is the one that ties all three of them together. Now, the attackers used all of this stuff very well. So those little vulnerabilities turned into a major breach. And as it says here, it gives a little more information. It kind of covers it all again. It says attackers were then able to pivot from that access token to other accounts, performing the same action, obtaining further access tokens. To protect people's accounts, we fixed the vulnerability. We have also reset access tokens of almost 50 million accounts. And there are also, as you see here, steps of resetting access tokens for another 40 million accounts that have been subject to view as lookup in the last year. Finally, we're temporarily turned off the view as feature while we conduct a thorough security review. This is a really good response to something very, very serious, because Facebook has a whole lot of information for most users. So I encourage you to contact Facebook if you haven't received notification from them. But most of all, reset your passwords. Come up with a way to disconnect and reconnect. Go to the security sections and disconnect from Facebook and notify your family and friends. In this last slide, I added this picture because if you go to this web link that's listed at the bottom, the security update from Facebook, there's a video on there, and I have put the actual um, URL for the video itself. And also, I want to encourage you again to visit identitytheft.gov/data breach and watch the FTC's video. You go to the FTC's website and you will find a video on what to do after a data breach. So I want to encourage you to follow up on this, because even though they suspect there's 90 million that have been impacted, that number could grow. So I strongly recommend disconnecting your Facebook account, resetting the passwords, and please, I know they've already turned off the view as feature, but I would definitely reset the password. But the most important thing, this is an identity theft situation. So you definitely want to let your family, people that know you, because people will impersonate you or use whatever information you may have on that account. So definitely contact the people in your Facebook connections and let them know, that you have been a victim of this. So please do your due diligence and really check into this with Facebook. And once again, thank you so much for visiting my channel.